and so try not to pick your nose and
it's going to be a hardship
things or anything like. I know it's like my go-to, but no. Anyway, so I lived in Phoenix. Listen, we're talking about grits. That's the backstory. So we. Denise took herself out of the picture. I'm sorry.
Denise, this grits story is for you.
I think Denise is like she's just one of the coolest, sweetest people I know. Aww. And like whenever I bug so Denise is my personal assistant, and she's the one who keeps my schedule straight. And she runs interference, and she's always like she'll send me an email first thing in the morning. By the way, she doesn't sleep. Like I'll like read audiobook stuff, and then I post it up in the cloud. She takes it and she proofs it and then sends it right back to me with all my mistakes. It doesn't matter. If I'm working at midnight, I'll get like 4 chapters done, and I'll upload them by like 2:00 in the morning. That stuff is she's got my proofing report, laid out for me. She might be a witch, but I think she's a good witch.
Witches are good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's right. We had a talk about witches, didn't we? We're gonna have to have that discussion, because I've got thoughts on that. Anyway, let me get back to my story. Yeah, let me get back to my story. So we were talking about grits. Fiona and Denise and I were talking about living healthy and grits and stuff like that. And Denise says,
backstory. We're talking about drinking.
Oh yeah, it started with drinking. Yeah. So Denise says, "Well, we don't have grits in Canada." Fiona, being in Canada, says, "Oh yes."
Well, from Canada. I'm not in Canada right now. I'm from
Canada.
Down in Virginia. Yeah.
So Fiona, who is from Canada, says, "Oh yes, we do." And so we're getting to this discussion, and so I had to interject and say, Canada's a big country, as is the United States, and I have a story to illustrate the fact. So I lived in Phoenix. I got a job in St. Louis, Missouri, and my mom lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is my hometown. And so from Phoenix, I go to Albuquerque. I pick her up, and she does the road trip with me out to Missouri. So we get to, I don't know, Joplin, Missouri, or something like that, which, by the way, is the witchcraft capital of the United States. Interesting story. But they have like more witches in Joplin per capita than any other place in the country. Anyway, that's just an aside. But she was so excited when we finally got to a restaurant where she could order grits. But we didn't have, you can't just go to a restaurant in New Mexico or Phoenix.
But can you go to the grocery store? They're not in the grocery store next to the maze and the.
I don't know. I mean, in Albuquerque, in New Mexico, we have blue corn, we have regular corn, and we have something that's called chequewe, which is similar to grits, but it's like a blue corn meal.
Wow, I bet that's strange to look at on your plate.
But you know what? It is
so good.
As we were saying, yeah, it is the bomb diggity. It is so good. So it's it was really good. So anyway, I think you guys are caught up. So welcome to the Facebook Live. We've got Alan in the room. Alan is a good buddy of mine from Albuquerque. He lives in Colorado right now. We have Terry Salvador. We have Julie. Hi, Julie. And we're waiting for our other people to walk in the room. But I want to introduce you to Fiona Quinn. If you have not read Fiona Quinn, she's just an amazing writer. But we've got a trailer, so you can meet Fiona and get to know her just a little bit better. Okay, so let's watch this. That's cool. Wow, that is so cool.
That is so
So,
old.
is it really?
There are like 6 books in that series. It's all been updated,
Yeah.
but yeah, just
Cuff
punching and
Links.
kicking.
So Links is your book alter ego,
You know,
right?
it's my daughter. It's my oldest daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So is she adventurous like you are?
She is fearless, and she
Yeah.
is incredibly strong. She's only like 5'2",
Hmm.
but she I think she was up to 260 lifting the other day, and like
Holy cow.
she's amazing. She's an ER nurse, and she travels the world to go play with the elephants, and she is just
Wow.
fearless. And yeah, I want to be her when I grow up.
Hey, so Alan says that you're. Let's put Alan on Alan's comment on this thing. So Alan says that your form is good in both martial arts and making those shots around the corner. Well done. He's a former Marine.
Oh, thank you.
I guess you're never a former Marine, are you? You're always a Marine,
You
aren't you?
are always a Marine. You are retired.
Right, exactly.
Retired Marine.
So yeah, you got the seal of approval from our resident Marine. So let's give some shout outs and say hello to Margie Rollins. Margie is so very cool. And I don't know, Margie, if you have had a chance to check out the Fiona Quinn books, but we have one that just came out, so it's pretty cool. Karen Hoffman is very cool. She's a big audiobook fan, but also an author in her own right. I've done a audiobook for Karen as well. So
Nice.
it's good to be hanging out with you guys. So everything's good with you?
Everything's lovely. We had a beautiful day. I got a little tree time today. It always makes me happy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're in Virginia, right?
I am. Yeah, outside of Richmond.
I'm reading about some things that happened in Virginia and Philadelphia. I'm reading a biography of George Mason,
Mhm.
which is pretty cool. I'm a nerd when it comes to history stuff.
I have a history degree, and I
Yeah.
used to work in the museum, in the history museums around Virginia.
Oh man, that would be so cool.
It can be.
Yeah. Probably annoying sometimes when somebody like me walks in wanting to talk history with you when you probably had plenty of other things to do.
Oh no, I love to talk about history, and I love to hear things. I think the only thing is that sometimes people are that history is misrepresented, and it's
Mm.
not what they're saying back to me, or what I hear them tell their children is not factual, and that can just be a thing. It
Yeah.
can be a thing. Yeah, no, I liked it. It was a slow paced
Mhm.
life, and I just my brain goes faster, and so it wasn't a great fit for me. Though the
Mhm.
history piece I love,
Yeah.
and it just as a career, it's better as an avocation than a vocation for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can kind of see that. You write about a lot of. I mean, your books are all action. What is there a particular reason why you've chosen the books that you choose to write?
So I have a bunch of bunch of degrees, a bunch of background. And so the things that I like to write about show up in my books. The things I like to think about show up in my books. So psychology, art history, science.
Mm-hmm.
I homeschooled my kids. And so, for example, the Links books that you just were highlighting,
Mm-hmm.
Links in that series is an unschooler. So she grew up basically the structure that I made for my children, an unschooling structure where we got to just explore the things that were interesting to us and
Wow.
build life skills. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, instead of studying dinosaurs in the, you know, which dinosaurs died in which era, we were rebuilding engines and, doing things
Well,
like
that's
that.
very cool. Wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
I never had the courage to actually rebuild an engine. I think there's just
So
too
my
many.
daughters can do it. I kind of stand
Yeah.
back and go, I think, is that an extra nut? That's not my bailiwick. I leave that to other people. But we did get to explore a lot of things, and so in my books, I have traveled the world. I really enjoy learning about culture and how different governments function, and
Mm-hmm.
what that culture is, what they lift up in terms of culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and history, art history, psychology, and
Mm-hmm.
languages, and applying those, and manipulating the story with the different things. I just like to do research, and I like to talk to people about things that are
Mm-hmm.
important and interesting, and try to weave them into a story. So sometimes there's a little bit of that unschooling piece to my story writing, is that and also pulling from that history background that we just talked about, was my job with, for example, the Valentine Museum, which is a Richmond history museum, was to do interpretations to help the layperson understand the how we got to that piece of history. That piece of history didn't happen, out of nowhere. It
Mm-hmm.
happened through a series of events, and
Yeah.
so if I can lay out some events fictionally to help understand, give
Mm-hmm.
some
Yeah.
extra information to things that are happening in a newspaper, then that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like
Michael
it.
Crichton used to do that all the time in his books, and that was what was so fascinating to me
My hero.
about him, was that he was just so cool at giving you, giving you the science behind, the story, and that's, I mean, I love that about danger signs. And when you were talking about, about the culture, and the way that we interact within the culture, and dealing with cultural norms, that was a fascinating thing with me for danger signs. And if you haven't, if you're not familiar with danger signs, it's this is the latest book that the audiobook that we've worked together on, Fiona Quinn and I. Danger signs, the premise is that we have he's not a Delta Force guy. He's a private.
Yes, Delta. Yeah, he's Delta
He is
Force.
Delta Force. Okay, yeah. So we have a Delta Force guy who is tasked by a
CIA.
CIA to um, develop a quick relationship with a woman. And the way that you it's really I mean, there are a lot of fascinating things about it. Number one, so she is Muslim, and her family is from
Tower.
Qatar. Yeah, Qatar. I had to leave. You won't believe how long I had to study how to say Qatar properly, or at least, like, the way that an American might say it, who actually knew how to pronounce it. But that's a tough word to say. But anyway, so it was fascinating to me to get that background on the cultural difference between people who live in Qatar and here in the West, and also the science that went into this. So I want to ask you to give us some cool science. The the goal of this guy was to make this woman fall in love with him, and for a very specific reason. The CIA told him that's what he had to do, and they used science in order to make him do all of the things and be all of the things that she needed in order to fall in love with him, so that they could accomplish their mission. So
Yeah,
tell
they
me
did
about the
it.
science of making somebody fall in love with you. We should have built it this way. We should have said, hey, you want somebody to fall in love with you?
I
Music.
read an article. It's one of my best read articles. I have a blog called Thrill Writing. Somehow I'm echoing.
Hmm.
Sorry.
Maybe I have you on too loud. I am getting older, so my ears aren't as good as they were. How's that?
So it's like how to make how to make your heroine how to get your heroine to have sex in 12 easy steps.
Oh,
And there
okay.
are 12 steps that were studied zoologically by primates, but they apply to humans also, about these 12 steps that humans will go through before they have sex. I did not use that in this particular. I didn't talk about it. We did follow the steps. I always follow the steps in my books because,
Yeah.
for example, because we do it, but we do it unconsciously. This was a lot of what we talked about, you and I, about the things we do unconsciously. You don't know you're following these 12 steps, but these 12 steps are in place. All primates do them. Humans do them. And so if you, as a writer, skip one, it just doesn't feel authentic. I'm going to answer Margie's question real quick.
Yeah.
Danger Signs is the first book of a 3-book planned series on on Delta Force Echo, but it is part of a wider world of interconnected books called The World of Iniquus. And right now I'm working on the 24th book, which is the next book in this particular series, and it's called Danger Zone, and it's available for pre-order to come out in September.
They're kind of like but they're kind of self-contained in themselves, right? Like
You can read them alone, or you can read them as a series, or you can. So they're good alone. They're better as a series. They're best as a world,
you
because
get the impression at a certain point in time as you're reading, you're like, oh, you know what? I bet you this other person has a story as well. So that
everybody has a story. You have a story. I have a story. We just don't. You're right. So right. So the idea is that character might intrigue you, and you may want to investigate them a little more and find out their personal stories because you learned about them as a secondary character. And so I give the reader their story and and each series has a little bit of a different flavor. This one, so this particular book, we were the fun parts about it are, there are subconscious things that we do as human beings that we're not aware of, and I will tell you this story because
am I doing any of them right now?
Right now, all over the place.
Sorry.
So one of the things we do, I was telling Troy earlier that after writing this book, I got really paranoid about my ears, which I'm now hiding because I've gotten very paranoid.
Oh, that's
about
right.
them.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Was that when you're born and you're growing up, you have an ear to eye proportion, right? And when you hit a certain age, your ear to eye proportion tells the brain of the onlooker that they are in a viable age bracket for mating and having children and raising children, and that then this ear to eye proportion changes because our ears and noses continue to grow over time, and that then our brain goes, friend zone.
When your nose gets to a certain size, you're like, wait a minute, where are you going? Come back. I can hear you fine.
You're not going to look at my ears and judge me.
No, your ears are tiny.
Well, for all you know, they're hiding behind my hair. But yeah, so interesting things that that the CIA, has learned how to manipulate people into becoming assets. Obviously, they're very good at this, and they're very good at doing the psychological profiles. And so the CIA officer had been working with this woman to build rapport because she had been hunting, the CIA officer White had been hunting terrorists, much like I believe it was Nina Bacchus, one of the woman who found Osama bin Laden was basically what I was looking at. And so White has found this guy, and she's been trying to figure out how to get him so that he can be captured and questioned, right? And so they figured out where he was going to be, and she had been working on developing this asset, the woman Kira, because she thought that might be an entree at some point, right? So she's learned all of Kira's little nuancy things, the things that, what she likes, what she doesn't like. And so she's able to, with this background information, set up just a complete manipulation of this poor woman who is already being manipulated by her own family. So that, like, she is, she's trying to hold her own amongst a great deal of shifting tides, right? And so the CIA officer is saying, okay, for example, one of the ways that our brain can tell that you're interested, or it doesn't necessarily have to be sexually interested, but interested and involved, is the size of your pupils. And that goes back to infant pupils are very large, and humans want to look down at those infant baby eyes. And you have a new grandchild, so you've been doing the holding and staring into the baby's eyes, right? It's the way a baby starts to build rapport, learn how to make rapport.
You can see by the size of my pupils, like, how interested I am in what you're saying. Can you see my pupils are
huge,
ginormous? They're huge. I'm fascinated. I'm like.
So the CIA officer in this one scene wants to have him come to not her rescue, but to rescue her dog, right? She doesn't want him to be the knight in shining armor. So he's going to rescue her dog. And she set the whole thing up so that this rescue would be necessary, and didn't tell our main guy, Ty, what she was doing. She just said, hey, here are some eye drops that are going to make your pupils large.
That's right. Yeah. So his pupils were large, and that's like a subliminal sign
telling her that he's attracted to her, but he's been running. White wants him to come in jogging into the scene in the summer sun of North Carolina. So his pupils would have been really constricted. And so that Kira's whole brain is saying, oh, he likes me, even though she's not knowing that on a conscious level. Her brain is understanding the manipulation that, so he runs in, and I can't even imagine how he's running through the sunlight with his pupils.
If that was me, I would be like, my eyes I have blue eyes. So my eyes are really sensitive to sun. I would be like Gilbert Gottfried. It would be the exact opposite. Like, he may be really interested, but she'd be like, no, I think I'm okay. And I'd be saying, where are you going? Why is everybody leaving? That's my Gilbert Gottfried impersonation.
That was very good. Nice. Can you do it again? Do another one.
Yeah. So, so Margie said, when we were talking about ears, Margie says, great, something else to be self-conscious about. So Alan wants to know how you manage a timeline.
Okay, let me see if I can understand exactly what the question is. In this book, and at this date time, this happened, but in the next book, there's something going on about the same time. Okay, I think I understand. So if this isn't it, just ask again. So we have Ty is here in this book. The next book takes place in the fall with another one. So in all of my series books, there is a new hero and new heroine. They will play cameos in each other's books. but it really is in the two voices. So in this one, Troy read Ty and read Kira, with cameos from other characters who have shown up in previous books.
Mhm.
So, for example, this book started with it's the summer. A year ago in the world, there was a woman named D-Day who protected the
Yeah.
Echo team. And now they've just jumped out of a plane and landed in a tree in the middle of the night, and she's dangling there and trying to be a good sport about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. Alan is so Alan actually is single, and Alan might be interested in maybe let's see if we can identify 5 things that Alan can do to make a woman interested in him. So he walks into a bar. Alan walks into a bar and he sees a woman that he wants to get to know better. What does he have to do to make this woman interested in him?
Okay, so first of all, a man never shows interest first. It's a woman who shows a man interest first. This is biologically. And it isn't an interest where she's going to go and introduce herself, but it's a couple of different things that he might spot. So, for example, when and for this, I'm just going to frame this as heterosexual, just because it's easier, but you can extrapolate out to whatever frame of mind you're in. So, so that's so funny.
Alan, you better be taking notes, brother. Let me tell you.
Okay, so one of the things she can do is an eye pop. So an eye pop does not necessarily have to be a sexual thing, but it is an interest thing. So an eye pop is basically just, it's very quick. It's just
Do you do that? You walk up. You walk up to
not necessarily
and,
with the eyebrows, but the eyes will expand and contract. Right.
Who was that used to? That was somebody. His thing. That was his thing. What was that guy's name? He was one of the Brat Pack. Matthew. What was that kid's? He was the kid who like acted with his eyes. He was in St. Elmo's Fire. What's that guy's name?
Don't ask me because I don't.
Oh, God, if I told you the name of the guy, you'd go, "Oh yeah, that guy." But he was always like, he would always like do like these.
Oh, well, all right. So it's not that. So I've got glowing things in my eyes. Let me lean forward and see if I can.
Okay. Can I try it on you?
Okay. Go. No.
No. Okay.
That's way too long. It's just a.
Okay. 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 Hold on. Let me do it again.
No, that's eyebrows.
No?
Also, it's not a boy thing; it's a girl thing.
Oh, the girl thing. The girl does it to the boy.
Thing. It's an eye pop. Okay. Here's another thing. It's not touching the hair so much as it's moving the hair or moving the chin to show the jugular. So I'm showing you. It's sort of like a dog rolling over on their belly.
Wait a minute. No. So you're trying to give us. You're asking us to get to. That's what the girl needs to do, right?
So right. So in biology, right, in the primates, what happens is the girl will perceive of the possible mate.
Yeah.
And she will do a signal and turn away. Eye pop, jugular, hair movement.
So maybe if Alan walks into a bar, he sees a woman that he's really interested in.
And if he doesn't get any of that, stay the hell away.
Okay.
Don't do it, Alan.
Okay. So,
but if he sees that, then he can approach, and then the approach needs to be not creepy. So a not creepy approach is, "Hi, I'm Alan."
So Alan would start by acting not interested. So maybe he would like walk up to the bar next to the girl and go, "What's up?" and then like order the drink. No, he doesn't say "What's up."
Maybe, I don't know, Alan. So Alan has to be himself, but he does need to be the person. So the woman makes the initial move with her face. She will signal interest, right? If the woman signals interest, another way a woman can signal interest is she's sitting on one side of the bar and she looks at you in America an overly long period of time. In Europe, you can sit there and stare at people all day long,
Oh,
and
really?
they won't notice
Deanna
it. But
says, "Don't be creepy."
don't be creepy.
I think
So
I've
so
identified
that's
my
rule
main
number
issue.
one. And so so in America, staring at someone for a couple of a fraction of a second longer than is normal, catching the eye and holding it and then turning away,
Mm,
is a signal that a woman has at least been aware of you and you've caught her interest. Okay, so those are three of the list.
okay.
Eye pops, the jugular, which is hair movement or the tipping, and holding that gaze for a
Mm.
nanosecond too long. So a non-creepy way to approach is, "Hi, my name is Alan," and she could say, "Not interested," and then Alan says, "Thank you," and walks away. Or she says, "Hi, I'm Janet," or whatever, and then something something that is around them can become, I really like blues music. Do you like what they're playing here? um, Maybe something a little more interesting than, "What are you drinking? Can I buy you a
Yeah.
drink?" All of those things, like a red rose, are become trite, and
Mm.
so they kind of put up flags.
No red
But
roses. I
right,
was
so there's
terrible at being single.
suppleness.
I was like the worst single guy ever. It was really, I mean, I was a great wingman.
What did you
Mm,
do? I'm afraid to know.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, I had friends who could one time. So let me tell you something. This could be a therapy session. You're
Okay,
contractually
let's go.
obligated now. So I remember. So I was with my girlfriend at the time, and we're hanging out, and this girl comes in, and her sister, her older sister comes in, and this girl was just like over the moon about this guy that she met, and the way that she described him and the car that he drove, I knew exactly who it was. It was my best friend's little cousin. Well, he wasn't little anymore. It was really funny. I mean, this guy was like, his name was David. And this kid was, he was
David, you
like,
just got called out.
David, God, I mean, he's a really nice guy, but very, not really that smart. But he looked, this kid at the age of 11 or 12, Aladdin, the cartoon Aladdin, he looked like him. He looked
Okay.
exactly like Aladdin. And as he grew, he only got better looking, the little bastard. And he got better looking. The guy turned out, he was like, 16. He was about 6'4", 6'5", and just like a massive guy. And this girl comes up and she's like just gushing over this guy that she met. And he's real easy to narrow down because he's like that tall, and I knew exactly what he looked like. And he
And
drove
he's 16 at the time, and you didn't like wave her off?
he she he didn't look 16. I mean, he
It
looked,
doesn't matter. He was 16. That's
but well, no,
okay.
I mean, I was only 18 at the time myself, but
All right, so this is a
so I
younger
was like,
woman.
yeah.
I'm thinking someone like our age, and I'm thinking,
No, yeah, no.
"That's so
This is a long
horrible."
time ago. But she's gushing after him, and I'm getting like more and more annoyed at the time because I mean, I've always been a pretty nice guy, and like I would walk up to a girl that I was interested in, and nine times I was just not the, hey, how you doing kind of guy, and would be able to like pick up girls. I just could not pick up girls. I was more the guy that you got to know over several years to a decade before you became interested in. So I always
So
resented these
I'm just going to
guys.
suggest that you were missing the signals of the right girls to approach, and you were approaching the incorrect
Probably.
women.
Yeah, probably so. But anyway, yeah.
Because
So
certainly
yeah,
your charms wouldn't have been missed on all of those ladies.
yeah. I mean, there was, yeah, it was. I mean, I did okay, but I was never like that guy. I mean, this guy could just walk up and go, "Hey, what's up?" And like girls would just like melt at his feet.
Aw.
And I never, no, don't awe him. He's doing fine. It was me. I was the one who needed help. But
Aw.
But anyway, that's my story. I'm sorry. That's some deep-seated resentment that I need to kind of
That
incorporate
you
into
flush
my.
out of your system. I think
Yeah, I
that
need to
it's
flush that.
important.
I need to get past that. It's been, let's see, I'm 50. God, I'm 55. I'll be 56 this year,
So will I. When's your birthday?
August 9th.
Okay, so you're older than me. Haha.
Yeah, I'm older than most people. I realized.
You're older
Isn't
than
it
me by
funny
like
how
2 months.
at a
It's
certain point in
funny.
time you become the oldest. Like for the longest time, I was the kid everywhere. Everywhere I worked, everywhere I was always the kid. And then like it seemed like the next day, I was the old guy in the group. So that's me now.
That's how time happens.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's time. Yeah.
it's true. It's true. Though I will say I was at the dentist and he's like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, I don't know,"
How
because
old do
I
you
don't pay
think I
attention to
am?
that. I pay
Yeah,
attention to I feel the same I did when I was in my 30s. I'm cool, whatever.
yeah. I feel pretty good. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty young. It's just I do
It's
when I
all
do.
of that. It's all of that cauliflower grits that you're eating.
Oh God. Don't you know what? Cauliflower grits are not worth the effort. Don't do it. If you want grits, eat grits. Just eat it. Just get the grits, all the butter, all the shrimp on top. Eat the grits. If you're gonna do that. If you want cauliflower, then eat cauliflower. But yeah. So that doing. I feel younger than I am, and I'm only caught out when I do something that a young person does. I don't know if you can see. I don't. I've
You
got
had your
this.
clavicle broken last time we were
I
talking.
did, yeah. So it's a big bump. I'm like what? Avert your gaze. I'm the
Quasimodo of
yes,
the
the bell
audio world.
ringer. Yeah, I'm not an animal, but yeah. So I've got this great big lump on my shoulder now because I crashed on my mountain bike.
Is it
Um,
a lump because you're swollen or because you're now deformed? I
I
mean,
think
that
this is the way I am
needs
from now on. Yeah.
no. You need to see.
No, I think, I think this is it. So the doctor said, "Yeah, you've got a stage 2 separation of your clavicle," and he said you can, it's going to take anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks to heal, and you'll have a bump, or you can have surgery now, and you'll have a bump, and it'll take you 3 to 6 weeks to heal. So I figured I would just leave it alone and let it heal. So yeah, now I can, I don't know. I think it's going to be part of my superpower. Like when I heal up, I'll have like that extra layer of calcium on my shoulder, and I could like block somebody if I have to.
That's quite the story you're telling yourself.
I
I know I'm a super.
yeah. Yeah. So that is the thing. It's funny, like we feel like we're like we can do more than we should, or maybe if I just like keep
I
practicing.
remember being able to do this. I should still be able to do that. But I know what you're saying about the clavicle and the healing. It's like um, I was in two different fights where I popped my ACL, which is the ligament that basically is the central ligament that kind of, without it, your femur kind of slides down your leg.
Oh,
It's
great.
a very awful feeling. You kind of fall over all the time, so you have
Hmm.
to have it replaced. And I
You had to
had
have your ACL replaced.
both of them have been replaced
Oh, wow.
from black belt fights, and
Why are you getting in
they.
fights? I mean, you seem like a pretty civilized person. Are you like are people like Alan walking up to you in bars going, "Hey, what's up?" And you're like,
And I
"Back
have to
off."
drop them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
And the next thing they know, they're
If
waking
he had
up.
only just said, "Hi, I'm Alan," then we would have had no issues. But
Uh,
he got smarmy, so gotta
yeah.
drop him. No, so I think like many, many, many women, being out is dangerous, and I have
Mm.
been attacked many a time in the streets and in libraries and just really
Wow.
bizarre, random places. And so I made sure that I had a skill set to have some skills to protect myself. And I also made sure my daughters were all second degree black belts.
Wow.
And so, because they're much smaller than well, two of them are much smaller than I am, and I want them to, feel like their no has backup power, right? So,
Mm. Yeah.
but so I fought in the streets before, and I've also fought in a dojang training before, and that's where I happened to be in these two fights with people who did not speak English and were not listening to what the referee was saying about you're not allowed to do that.
Wow.
You need to let go of that leg, and they
Hmm.
dropped on, like, this one guy dropped on top of my bent knee, and
You're
it
fighting
just,
guys in like, are these cage matches that you're? I'm imagining I'm imagining a ring made of bamboo and like smoke in the air and
yeah, you're imagining exactly.
Vietnamese betters, like, like betting on the one who's going to come out, bloody, and the one that they're going to drag out bloodier.
Yeah, yeah. Bet against me every time.
Yeah, no, I will not. I will not. You really are you're a badass.
Well,
You can handle
you know,
yourself.
it depends. It depends on the person and how crazy they are, and if they speak English and can listen to the referee. But
Yeah.
in these two particular fights, I broke my ACL, and the whole point of my telling you that story was, and thank you, Cindy, for calling me a badass, because that's pretty funny. But that my when they put back the cadaver ones, they said they were 70% stronger, so they're like twice as strong as normal legs. And so I feel much more confident when
This
I
sounds like the beginning of a
one in the
movie
head
to me.
that
You've
I'm
got
going to keep my
cadaver
leg.
tendons in your body that happen to be twice as strong as a regular human cadaver. You know that you're becoming a zombie, right?
Yeah,
You
little
know
by
that
little, absolutely.
there's a
That's my
movie
goal in
plot in
life,
here.
If I keep
Like,
replacing shit. Sorry. If I
what's
keep
what's
replacing
the worst
things.
going to happen? We just replaced her anterior cruciate ligament with an elephant, a dead elephant tendon,
That's
and
right.
now she's gone on rampage. I'll give you
As,
the
as,
idea.
as one is wont to do after one's has the ACL replaced with elephant tendon. One
You know,
goes on rampages.
maybe we should
And it
brainstorm. I mean,
turns out that I should not go to China shops, because then I'm just the
yeah, a bull in a china shop. Yeah, yeah. I think that it's. I mean, it really sounds like you've got some life, some some life stories here. So
No,
yeah, that's right.
my
Yeah.
ACL
Cindy
is
says,
way cooler
"Yep,
than your shoulder bump.
yeah. I need to do something amazing now. Now I'm gonna have to go this weekend and do something really, really dumb. Maybe get in a fight at a Blues game.
You don't.
So
Here's my takeaway from fighting:
mhm.
don't don't fight. Don't fight.
Yeah,
If you can talk your way out, talk your way out. If you can back your way out, back your way out. Just try very hard not to fight.
yeah, I learned that, yeah, the hard way. I mean, I think that I really was never a great fighter, and so and I also I hung out with tough guys.
Wasn't there a story about that? I think you told me a story about punching
Uh,
someone.
lot of stories. I was in a gang.
I think that you were inebriated at the time and it didn't go well.
Yeah,
I was in
yeah.
a gang and I was at this and I did this and I did that.
It seemed like a
Yeah,
fun
I shouldn't
thing.
know about that.
I mean,
Excuse me.
it's so funny the things that you do when you're just like sitting when you're getting inebriated. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, basically like the people that I hung out with were a lot tougher than I was. So anytime like there was any kind of a beef between a group of guys, they would always be like, "All right, well, we'll take that one." And I was the one who had to fight. You'd think I would have gotten good at it, but I never really was. So now I just I smile when somebody looks at me, I wave and smile.
Cheers.
Try to be
Back
pleasant.
up. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Think about it.
So it's funny that we have talked about just about everything except for our audiobook, but
But
Danger
yes,
Signs is
we
a
do. Every time we get together and talk.
I know there's no such thing as a short conversation with us, is there? Um,
Sorry.
we have
I write novels for a living, so there's got to be like the plot and the subplot, and we got to bring in some extra characters, and it's 100,000
yeah.
words long, and yeah.
I really did enjoy the reading this story just because like the premise was really cool. You have a Delta Force guy. It starts with action because he's parachuting. Where they did a halo, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so they did this halo, which means high altitude, low open.
Low
right? So these guys, they jump from like way out of the stratosphere, and they fall and fall and fall and fall, and then they open their chutes at the last minute, and it's made so that they can, they can get in behind enemy lines uh, to get a hold of a Russian helicopter. And so it starts with that. They get to they successfully take the chopper, and then the CIA lady is waiting right there for him and says, "I've got an assignment for you. This guy that we've been chasing after, we're going to put you in the compound where he's going to be, and you have to make this woman fall in love with you." And I don't know how you come up with these stories. I mean, the premise for this story is so, I don't know. I mean, it seems natural to me. Like, oh yeah, of course. There's a international terrorist that they need to put, the Delta guy in the same room, and in order to make that happen, they're going to
Manipulate
make a guest of honor fall in love with him and take him along with her to was it Tunisia? No, it was
it was tense.
Tanzania. Yeah.
But so the interesting thing for that is it's obvious that she's manipulating White, the CIA agent, is manipulating Kira through Ty.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's not as obvious that she's manipulating Ty as well. Because when she was choosing him, she was looking at the psychological aspects that would impact Kira. For example, women will frequently fall in love with, find attractive men who are similar in physicality to their brothers. So not their fathers, but their brothers.
Yeah.
And so Kira doesn't have a brother, but she had a brother figure. And this guy happens to be pretty close in the physical realm. She did all the measurements of the ears and the eyes, and to see that, she would, that Kira would perceive of him as a potential mate from the golden ratio for men. And that he would also find her interesting because she had the golden ratio for females, which is not a weight issue. You can be any weight, small.
Oh, as long as you're in the right proportion.
Large, it's a proportion issue, right?
Oh, okay. All right. There's hope for me then.
There is hope for me.
I've gained a lot of weight with COVID. Like, I think I've been through 3 or 4 COVIDs. They say that there's like 15 pounds per COVID. So I think I've been through about 3 COVIDs. I need to work it out.
45 pounds in the last year?
Well, maybe not that much, but a lot. And maybe, I mean, I don't know. I need to count it up. Like, my
you just need to check your shoulders to your waist. But that's that's also
thanks to my shoulder injury. That's a better.
Right, you got that big lump now. That's really going to add. How did you get that bulk lifting? Well,
let me tell you something.
I took this other route.
I lifted the earth by slamming into it.
So, but also, Ty, the guy that they're going after, she was trying to get one of the people from Echo to be involved because they were involved in a mission 7 years prior that is interestingly, Troy, you read Cold Red, which is the second book of the FBI series. In the book following that, called Even Odds, we learn about her story, about this woman, Storm Meyer's story. And Storm was saved by Echo, and specifically saved by Ty, who now has, a thing, like they want this guy, they want him bad. And so where if White had walked into any team and they were like, here's a name, here's a picture, here's the girl, this is what's going to happen, there wouldn't have been this visceral need, this desperation to make this mission work, to get to this guy, to make sure that this never happens again to U.S. troops. And so they are very, they're supposed to be emotionally detached, but this is not the case here. There is an emotional attachment to making sure that this mission goes well. And so he has some ethical issues with the whole thing. And, this isn't what I do and what I signed up for. But we need to mention that Ty is his job with Echo is he's a dog handler and a military canine handler. And so his dog plays a huge role in this.
Mm-hmm.
And
Rory, yeah,
Rory, whose real
he's a
name is
good
Glory, but he pronounces it in dog.
Yeah. My name is Rory.
My name is Rory, which is
I'm a
what it
good
always
boy.
sounds like in my head. That's exactly what it sounds like. He's like, oh, wow.
Well, so there, like one of the scenes in this book was when this guy comes up, and of course, like the CIA agent is making the ultimate, hot, attractive guy for this girl, and he comes riding up on a motorcycle with a sidecar. And there's Rory. He's a Russian Malinois, or is in Belgian Malinois, right? And by the way, I had to go back through the book, and here's a little inside story. I pronounced it Malinois, but apparently it's Malinois,
like mayonnaise or something. I kept going, what?
Yeah. So anyway, so he comes riding up on this motorcycle with a sidecar, and here's this Belgian Malinois with goggles on, if you can picture that. So
his goggles and his little fight, and they get ice cream, and he's a very good boy, and we love that.
Very good boy.
He's a very good boy. Julianne is asking a question about Julianne is I guess a writer and working on her first novel, and where do I get my
oh yeah, that's a good question.
Ideas, generate my ideas. So for example, I might be generating ideas right now while we watch. Troy will say something about his background, and I'll go, oh, that's an interesting story. And I may ask him more questions about it, or, kind of tuck that away and go, well, what happens if we had a guy who is, let's just make up a story here. He's a guy who's reading Audible books. And as he's reading somebody's memoir for them, he recognizes one of the characters in this memoir as someone he knows and someone who has done something wrong. And now he's conflicted about whether he's going to tell his client the information because that would help solve some mystery in their life, or whether he's going to protect this other person. So now he goes and confronts them, and it pulls it, so everything is fodder for story. And I have
Cindy's really running with this shoulder bump thing.
So there's Aladdin and the shoulder bump, right? Yeah. So there's this woman who is just really a Victor Hugo fan, and she has a thing for Quasimodo, and and now she just wants to rub his shoulder, and the guy is just like, man, lady, you're really off your rocker. But now she's stalking him and wants to rub his shoulder.
Stay off me, bump.
Get off my shoulder, lady.
Get off my shoulder, lady.
Whenever he goes to get a drink, she's there going, hey.
Rub your shoulder for good luck. Yeah.
But so everything is fodder for story, and it's just a matter of here's a piece and there's a piece, and if we put it together, what could I do with that, right?
A little research, right? It's like you find something that you're interested in. I mean, it sounds like you put a lot of research into your books.
I do. I do. It's right. So again, it might be a story I read in the news, and I go, oh, for example, right now I'm writing. The woman is she's a foreign correspondent, and she goes into war zones. That's the place where she feels most comfortable doing her reporting. So now I'm doing a lot of studying of those, watching documentaries, reading biographies to find out what is their mindset, what do they do, what do they not do? And then I have to pick the things that work with my story. But in doing the research, then I might go ask real people who do the job. Can you give me some insights? Can you tell me how that goes? You just start building layers. And as you build layers, then the story, it's kind of the onion of the stories. You've got all these different layers, and then you have to decide how you're going to organize them so that you can present that story for a reader, so that they have this information, and it's for the most part accurate. I mean, there are some things that I have to tweak just a little bit, because to explain that would be way too long
Oh,
or way too bloody for this. I had a book called Thorn, and I have a doctor friend who reads the doctor parts of my books to make sure that they're medically accurate.
yeah.
And she was like, well, she's pulling out that catheter. And let me just say,
Oh,
it would be
I've
really
got a story
bad.
about a catheter. Yeah, a terrible story.
Okay,
It was
go. I may
I
use
don't know if
it.
you guys want to hear it, but so when I was 17, I was in a motorcycle accident,
Mhm.
and
This is what kept you out of the Marines.
yes, yeah, Alan. So Alan is from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and so you would recognize Gibson and Carlisle. I think was the closest cross streets, Alan. So remember that it was right near Anna Casement Hospital. Um,
Google Maps. Alan, where
so
is
yeah, really. So I was visiting with my girlfriend who worked at Schlotsky's. By the way, Schlotsky's amazing sandwiches, but they're like good once in a blue moon. A Schlotsky's really hits the spot. But anyway, that's not part of the story. So I get in, I hop on my
That's an
motorcycle.
aside. We're going to pick that up later. It's just a hook
Yeah,
for
we'll
later.
we'll talk about Schlotsky's later when maybe they'll sponsor me. But anyway, so I get on my bike. I have this little it's a road racer motorcycle, and so I hop on the bike, and I'm always going. I'm 17 years old, and so I'm always going like 3 times the speed limit. And I cross the intersection. The sun is at my back. The sun is setting. This girl who is just learning how to drive a stick shift uh, drives right in front of me in a little Volkswagen. And so I nail the Volkswagen and break everything. I break the Volkswagen and myself.
Hmm.
And so I've got like I'm I'm chained to my bed. Um, and I feel like all my arms and legs and
All
feet
I
and
can think
face
is your
are.
mother. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, she was not happy. She's not happy at all. But and none of the nurses were happy with me either because every time they say, "So motorcycle, huh? We call them murder cycles here." And I'm like, I know. But anyway, so I am laying in this bed. I'm like basically unconscious for the first 10 or 11 days. And so I wake up and I'm like, not only can I move, but I look down and I got a catheter and, catheter. And I'm, and I'm like, well, so I tell the nurse, I say, hey, when do I get to get this catheter out? And she goes, "Oh, you can have it right now." And she grabs me and grabs this catheter and goes, "Do you remember those? You remember the Evil Knievel?"
Just cringing. What?
Yeah, exactly. You remember the Evil Knievel thing where it's like you put this like key in there and then you go zip and you pull the key out and it makes the wheel go really fast and you put the Evil Knievel down on the ground and he goes like tearing off. That's what she did to me. And I'm like, she takes this catheter and she's like, zip. And I felt it from like the back of my soul all the way through my spine, curled through my
The
bladder.
back of my soul. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
God.
That's a
And
great.
and this thing comes sailing out of my body. And I'm like, oh, it was like, and it felt like somebody had thrown ice cold water in my face. It was like that drastic. So that's my experience with a catheter. I don't know what like you said something about a catheter, didn't you?
No,
Yeah,
you
that
didn't.
was
You just started telling us that story.
oh,
Thank you.
okay. Well,
No, I
that's a
mentioned that, right, this woman was on the roof and she was trying to get away from the bad guys, but she had a
mhm.
catheter. So she had to get rid of it
Oh,
so she could
okay, yeah.
run.
Yeah. Yeah, so
And
catheters
because
are bad.
they're hard to, with the bag, they're hard to run in.
Well, you'd think that they would be gentle, right? Like if
I'm
like
sorry.
if you're a nurse, why don't you just go, okay, we're gonna like, tug it out just a little real gentle. We're just gonna, real slow and gentle. No, she was like winding me up like a
Passive
go-kart.
aggressive on her part.
It's like
Ride a motorcycle. Whoop. We'll make sure that
maybe it was
doesn't
it.
happen
Yeah.
again.
I mean, it was like it was as if she was starting a lawnmower. And I did not appreciate being the lawnmower. That was terrible.
I'm going to answer Cindy's
Yeah.
question here. She wants to know about how I do special ops. So So it's a little bit of a couple of things. I read a lot of biographies of special operators, and I know some that I will ask questions. They don't like that very much, but they'll, like, no, that would never happen.
Mhm.
Um, some of the things are things that I know how to do because I'm on, for example, the Virginia Search and Rescue Team. So we train for how to, get down cliffs and how to carry people out in stretchers. And there was, I try to get hands on as much as possible. So even if it's like, I'm not going to dangle from a cliff, but I'll go to a climbing wall and have an instructor teach me how to belay and how to climb, just so I can get the
Mm.
sensation. For the book that we just did, and a previous book that also had someone jumping out of a plane. I'm not going to jump out of a plane. I'm old and brittle, so I might break like Troy, and Troy has set the bar pretty high. So, but I will go to, for example, a wind tunnel where they do indoor skydiving, and learn how to manipulate my body against the wind. Learn that if you smile while you do that, the wind will get up underneath your lips and flap your face around a lot. um, just, trying to find ways to experience ish without having to be in a war zone.
Mm.
But through the different ways the different experiences I've had in my life and the ways that I volunteer my time for my community, I get to do a lot of things. I was talking about this the other day. For an example, I'm a member of Community Emergency Response Team, which is a FEMA team, and they will train you to be part of this team so that you're if you are the first responders are actually the second responders. The first responders are the people who are present when the thing happens. So they would like to get as many people trained as possible. So the people who are in the event and are calling for help can do first, do the first thing, drag the person away if or stop the bleed, or whatever it needs to happen. So one of the things that happens with CERT is that the different responders teams will call them and say, we need help. And that help looks like there's a thing called moulage, and that's where they make you up to look like you had whatever horrible thing happen to you. Um, you know, uh, I was in a thing at the airport where they were trying to practice for how to use foam if there was a plane that was on fire as it landed.
Mm.
And so my role in there was they needed non-English speakers, people who were fluent in other language, to lay on the tarmac and not speak English, so that when the first responders arrived and they found out this was a plane full of foreigners who couldn't speak English, how they would then interact and try to save these people. So it was 60 degrees and it was raining, and I'm laying on a tarmac, and I'm this side of having a medical emergency from
Mm.
being wet and cold for as long as I was wet and cold. But I wasn't allowed to tell them, hey, I was getting ready to go, real world, you've got to save me. It was getting bad.
Mm.
But in that one, they covered up one of my legs and gave me a rubber thing that I pulled on, so it looked like a stump. It looked like my leg had been amputated out there.
Mm.
So I got to watch and see, how they arrived and how they, put them, what it felt like to be the victim. I've been a victim in an explosion, this is a mock victim in an explosion at a hospital, mock victim in a live shooter event. Um, a live victim in a event where they had killed the shooter, but they were now looking for the people who were hiding and injured. So I was
Mm.
hiding and injured, and from being in that position, I got to not only observe, but I also got to experience what it felt like. For example, the story I tell is they put me on this cloth gurney because we're going up and down the stairs. So they would wrap it like a burrito to lift and manipulate, so my head wasn't banging into the ground, and that you couldn't get up and down with a rigid ambulance stretcher. You had to be in this other thing, and my hair is long, and so it draped over the back, and the guy kept stepping on my hair as he's exfilling me. And so that's just
did you say it in like a different language, like, you're hurting my hair?
Well, in this way, in this
Don't
one, I was
touch my
supposed to be
hair.
semi-conscious and bleeding out from a tear to my carotid. So I wasn't chatting. I was just, letting them, do. And in the hot wash afterwards, in the hot wash, when we were talking about our experience, I could say, hey, if they've got long hair, it might prevent an injury to them or to you by making sure their hair gets tucked up, and so now they've learned from that experience too, right? So I've learned and they've learned. And they have very cool things. They have these robot mannequins that are with their colons hanging out and stuff. And if you touch them, they'll shriek, like they'll scream and gurgle and make bubble. I mean, it's just so that they could practice like doing trachs and doing, different things as they're listening to this
if your
fake
colon
thing.
was outside of your body and somebody touched it, it would hurt? I'm not asking for any reason other than I'm just kind of curious. Like, you wouldn't think
So
that there would
here's
be any
what I know,
nerves
and
in
that's all I can say. I don't know. I would imagine it would, because
Okay.
you're ripped open, right? And I'm imagine all of your nerve it. But it depends because your adrenaline is flowing. But what we're supposed to do in that situation is to get a wet cloth to cover it so that it doesn't dry out. Because you don't want that to be dry, and you also. I'm echoing again. I don't know if something got moved, but
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can hear it coming back in
sorry.
your room. So
Sorry.
it's I
Cutting
think
forward, cutting back. I don't know.
guess the moral of the story is that if things go badly, we need to head up to Richmond, Virginia, to hang out with you, because
No. But I do have my own. I have developed my own zombie apocalypse team with different skill sets, so that when we pull together, we'll survive. But I
you have a
guess the
room
point
for
being
a
that
guy with
how do you get these experiences? You can get them by reading, but that's one level. You can get them by doing. That's a better level. You can get there by truly experiencing. We talked last time about I had been kidnapped in Egypt, and that sort of worked its way into one of my books called Relic. The aftermath for this character who had this very similar experience, and so she talks about that a little bit. And so I write some of my stories,
She's
but
married,
I
Alan.
just don't have a lot of them. Now this is my kind of gal. Married. Married, but you can be on my zombie with my zombie plan, since you were a Marine. You are a Marine who is retired.
He can be your enforcer.
So anyway,
well, we've been on for about an hour and 10 minutes.
As we do. You promised me this is a half an hour to bring alcohol.
I swear to God, we were planning on a half hour. I think maybe if I put a little box with a timer or something like that, when I can say, okay,
you'd slap it down and go,
yeah, catheters, go. Sex at a bar, go. Make it happen. So.
And so Danger Signs is excellent. And
I think
I learned how to pronounce all kinds of new words.
Danger Signs, it's a great book. I mean, it was such a great story to read. I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot about it. So if you want to, if you want one of those kinds of books where you feel like you've learned something in addition to the fact that it's a great story, then it's a good story to get, whether you buy it on Kindle or in paperback, or if you're listening on Audible. Then I can vouch for it. It's a great story. It's a lot
Alan,
of fun.
that is the first in the series. It's going to be a 3-book series, and the first one is out, Danger Signs. So Echo. But if you look through and you want something of a different flavor, for example, you like DARPA, you like military science, you would want to read Uncommon Enemies. So there are different series that are in the world that have different flavors. So hopefully you can find something that appeals to you. If you want to hear Troy read some of my work, he did Cold Red, which is about it's survival
Yeah, that was
and
pretty cool. Yeah.
FBI. And you also, I'm drawing a blank. You also read the
So
one, In Too Deep.
In Too Deep, yeah.
In Too Deep, and that's how we learn about
Jellyfish. No,
we learn about Zoranthus.
Zoranthus, yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty fascinating story too.
True story. That's how
Mhm.
my husband almost died.
Yeah. So Alan, you might have had a shot, but they saved him. So
But I saved him because I knew what happened.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fiona, what a great time! I really enjoy chatting with you, and we've got so now we have threads started. So if you feel like hanging out and answering questions, I'll be doing that when we get done here. I'll be on my phone, probably avoiding whiskey, but eating honey roasted peanuts or something, and we can continue the conversation online. Sound good?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for hosting me. I appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me and being patient with me through all my awesome stories.
I love them.
Yeah,
They go in my brain, and I'll go, hey.
you know me so much better than like well, now I guess everybody knows me really well. With that catheter story.
The catheter was very intimate and revealing.
I do, yeah, I do feel like we've like
We bonded over the
yeah,
catheter story.
we've gone to the next stage in our relationship. So. All right. Well, you have a great rest of your night, and I hope that all of our watchers enjoyed it as well. And yeah, I'll post a link up to the website so you can download the book. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
We
Thanks everyone for
we done?
hanging out with us. Have a
All right,
nice
guys.
evening.
Take care. Talk to you next time.